If the pancakes that many ate this past Tuesday or the coffee or chocolate some are already craving aren't a reminder enough, then early as it may seem to you, I assure you that Lent has indeed arrived. Lent is the season before Easter, the 6 weeks leading up to Easter, that the early Christian church used to train newcomers to the faith. The tradition continues as we Christians often use this Lenten time to be more self-reflective, more intentional about our faith, to focus on others instead of ourselves. For some, this means giving up a luxury item or habit in their life so as to get back to the basics of living. Others instead choose to add something to their faith lives for Lent, be it daily prayer, meditation, journaling, or acts of charity. As a faith community, Glenn and I also try to help this congregation be intentional during Lent, so each year we choose a theme for our worship and study. Our thought is that if we offer the same opportunity for everyone over the course of the Lenten season, then we as a congregation can also grow together on our faith journey. This Lent, we're encouraging our faith family to engage in individual and community reflection on the theme, Making Time for God. Time to stop, pray, work, play, and love. As we've been talking about for the past few weeks, we're using resources from the Brothers of the Society of St. John the Evangelist, an Anglican organization. Through daily video clips, reflection questions, and opportunities for engagement online and in person, we're inviting you to consider your sense of time, and in so doing, achieve balance and embrace Sabbath wisdom. Already, we have an active online discussion group going, and after worship today, Glenn will be hosting our first in-person discussion. Each Sunday, we'll be introducing a theme as it relates to time. And as I've said, our week theme this week is Lent is a Time to Stop. The weekly cycle begins each Sunday with daily video clips and reflection questions on the given topic, while the sermon time each week will consider some of the broader implications that the theme has for our faith lives. The week will wrap up with an in-person discussion for about 40 minutes after worship. So after you have all considered what it means to stop this week, the next Sunday after worship, I'll lead a discussion on that topic. And then with the sermon next Sunday, the cycle will begin again. The lovely thing about this Lenten resource is that you can engage in it completely on your own time. Each video is only about 2 minutes long. The discussion questions that are posed are excellent, and you can reflect on them however you'd like. You can talk with your family in our online discussion, you can journal, you can chat with your friends, or you can share with others together on a Sunday morning. And so we really hope that you'll take seriously joining us and being intentional about your faith journey this Lent. And Glenn and I would welcome any discussion questions you have, or if you want to know how you can be involved. Maybe one of the most important reasons that we think it's essential to engage in this Lenten journey together is because of the disordered or out of balance relationship to time that we know so many of us experience. One very frequent question we get asked as ministers is, how do I find time in my busy life to do Bible study, to read the Bible, to deepen my faith? And even though I'm in the God business, I have to admit that I ask myself that very same question. There just never seems to be enough time to do all we want to do. And once all of the have-to things in life are taken care of, we collapse in a heap, too exhausted to consider anything else. Life is moving at an ever-quickening pace, a fact that has been scientifically proven over the last few decades, and life demands that we keep up. After kids are fed and laundry is folded and emails are answered and driveways are shoveled and parents are cared for and freezers are filled and bills are paid, we have nothing left. As a result, we suffer from higher levels of stress and anxiety, from lack of adequate sleep and exercise, from a constant pressure to produce. We are continually in motion, moving from one task to another, crossing off the to-dos from our lists, even as the list ever grows. We find it difficult to keep up with the demands of modern life, and we have lost ourselves in the busyness. Plain and simple, we have forgotten how to stop. While we may blame our modern industrialized world, we certainly aren't the first ones to be challenged by the demands of life. God commanded the people of Israel to remember the Sabbath and keep it holy, because they too needed to be reminded of the blessings of rest. After creating the world, God set our example by taking a full day of rest. Yet all too soon, our Hebrew ancestors were working continually as they were forced to labor endlessly to satisfy Pharaoh's insatiable desire for wealth and power. When God freed them and brought them out of Egypt into a new land, they were finally allowed to rest, and work resumed its rightful place in the order of their lives. In making it into law, one of the 10 Commandments, God sanctified times of rest. So the need to stop, to pause and rest from our labors is built into our very DNA. This was the balance that Jesus himself modeled in his life. His ministry was marked by periods of intense activity and interaction, followed by times of prayer and rest, often in deserted places. We are meant to live in such a way that work is balanced with leisure, that outward activity is balanced with inward reflection, and that times for doing are balanced with times for being. Yet this healthy balance of doing and being remains elusive for so many of us. So what are we as faithful Christians to do? Well, first and foremost, we have to learn how to stop rushing, to stop achieving, to stop doing, long enough to discover the inner stillness that allows us to notice God's presence and activity in our lives and in the world around us. We need to give ourselves permission to say, that's enough work for now. We need to find time and space to reconnect with that quiet place within us. Because when we live from this place of inner stillness, not only are we able to be truly present to the people in our lives, but we also come to see and recognize our true selves. Now, I'm the first to admit that stopping is a difficult thing to do in this life. Taxes won't get paid, and dinner won't get made, and sermons won't get written if I simply stop. I get more than a little jealous and can even become quite cynical when I hear people talk about the time they're able to spend just being. Time alone with a good book, time taking a leisurely ski or a walk, time watching the birds at the feeder. How lovely for them, I grumble, telling myself that maybe one day I'll have such a luxury, but nowhere in my foreseeable future do I imagine having such time. When my to-do list is accomplished, when Emma is grown, when I retire, then maybe I'll have time to stop. But for now, I've got to keep going and going and going. And to people like me, and maybe to you too, God says, be still and know that I am God. We heard it in Psalm 46 that Rick shared with us, these words written for God's people. And the more I let these words wash over me this week, the more I came to realize that as much as it takes discipline to do and to achieve, it takes an equal amount of discipline to know when and how to stop doing and achieving, to simply be still and know God. And I'm not particularly good at it. Because it takes a conscious choice for us, in the middle of trying to do a million things, to add to that list the requirement of being still. It means making the choice to do less, to leave things undone. It demands that we focus on what's really important, what really needs tending, and then let the rest go. It requires doing less of some things putting space between tasks and appointments so that we might move through the day at a more leisurely pace. Certainly, it means reorganizing our priorities. It means silencing all the voices in our heads that tell us what we should be doing, and instead giving ourselves permission to simply be. To be still. To be still and know God. I wondered how our relationship with each other would change if before we sent any email, before we had any conversation, before we made any decision, before we began any task, we chose to be still and to know that before and in and through all things, God is present with us in that moment. In our busyness and distraction, we often find ourselves thinking about things we need to do or something that's already happened or something that might happen. God invites us back to the present, encouraging us to focus on what's going on this very moment. For some of us, our call to being still invites us to be more present in our interactions with friends, family, colleagues, and those we encounter in our lives. We spend time with people, but we're not really there with them. We talk to them, but we're distracted by our devices. We're physically present, but our minds are preoccupied with the things we need to do. We listen, but we're really thinking about ourselves and what we want to say. God's invitation to us is to stop. Stop being preoccupied and learn to be present with the people we are with. To be still so that we might listen deeply to what they are saying and attend to the feelings behind their words. For others, stopping, being still, might mean taking an honest look at how connected we are. If we carry our mobile devices with us always, perhaps there are times we might shut it off or even leave it behind. If we sit in front of a computer for most of our day, can we take time to disconnect periodically so that we're not constantly being pressured by information coming in and the demands of others? I know this continual connection is my greatest struggle, and I find it difficult to maintain any inner stillness when I'm constantly checking for new messages, updating my Facebook feed, and feeling the pressure to electronically engage at all times. What I also know is that when I'm forced to unplug, my pace of life slows, and in time, my focus reorients to other, more important things, like a better night's sleep, or the warmth of a cup of tea, or the sound of my own heart beating. Whether it be eating our food more slowly, or pausing to breathe a sigh of gratitude after a task completed, be it using our travel time to think about our lives, or simply sitting in silence for just 5 minutes a day. This sacred commandment of being still, of being present in each moment, is what helps us reclaim the gift of time that God offers to each one of us. Friends, Lent is a time to stop, to choose to do less, to slacken our pace and remain mindful throughout the day. A time to be still and entrust ourselves entirely to God's loving care and goodness. So this week, I invite you to stop, to be still, and to experience the profound gifts that await you. May God bless our Lenten journey as we stop. Amen.